Welcome back to yet another episode. This is our beginner series. I'm your friendly neighborhood coach Jose, and in this episode, we're working on our volleys. Now, volleys are a very simple motion, but they can be a little tricky to get at first. But I'm gonna hold your hand through this step, that way I can make it nice and easy. Now, first things first, let's check our grip, okay? So you're gonna be using the continental grip or the hammer grip. As simple as racket on the side, hand straight on top, okay? Making sure that you keep a little bit of a gap in between your fingers, as so. How do you stand for volleys? Okay, firstly, you want to be nice and wide, and then a slight bend in your knees, and you want to be on the balls of your feet, okay? That way you can stay nice and light and be ready to move. Secondly, it's a little bit of a dance with volleys, okay? You're always moving across. So for a forehand volley, I'm gonna move across, okay? For a backhand volley, I'm gonna move across. Okay, it's always a bit of a dance. You're moving across to get to your volleys. Now, there's a couple of little important steps that we need to make sure we get right before we move on to actually hitting. Firstly, you want to make sure that you've got your grip nice and strong. The next thing you want to make sure that you get is you're keeping your racket up. This is very important because you don't want to drop your racket. If you do, that's a weaker point for your wrist. And if that ball is flying fast at you, it's going to hit and you're going to feel it, okay? You want to keep your racket up, because this is your strongest point in your wrist here. Now, the next thing that you're gonna make sure that you do is you're always hitting your volleys right out in front of you. You don't wanna be hitting your volleys late behind you, again, because that's a weaker point. So you're stronger in front. Just think, whenever you try and push something, you're stronger where you're pushing out in front and weaker back here. So you wanna try and keep your strength out in front of you. That way you can hit a very easy volley without losing power or losing strength in your shot. So these two, very important. This last step here is to make sure you get the ball up and over, is making sure you keep a slight tilt back, okay? You don't ever want to be hitting where your racket's straight up and down, because you're more likely to hit down into the net. You want to make sure that your strings are never facing to the ground, okay, because it's definitely going to go into the net like this. So always keeping a slight tilt back. So 3 points again, making sure you keep strong, firm grip with your racket up, not going down. And then you want to also make sure that you're keeping a tilt and keeping it right out in front of you. If you work on these 3 pointers here, you should have easy volleys. Now, I don't have a partner with me this morning, so I'm gonna show you how it's done over on the wall. I'm gonna come up against my arch nemesis here, and I'm gonna try not to miss. So over those steps, we're gonna keep our nice stance and we're gonna come across, okay? So for a forehand volley, I'm coming across here. And what I'm gonna make sure I do is those 3 pointers is keeping that racket up in front of me with a slight tilt back and keeping it forward. Let's give it a try. So forehand volley and nice and soft. And you can see with this, I'm keeping it in front. My strings are almost pointing up to the sky at this point here, and I'm controlling the pace. I'm not going very hard right now because the ball's gonna go flying if I do. And that's how it's done. Now, my challenge to you is to see how many you can get in a row on the wall without making a mistake. This one's gonna require a lot of patience and a lot of control. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes on the way, and this is fine, okay? Mistakes are good, this is how we learn. Don't get upset by this. Tennis is a very frustrating sport, I know, but it's something that you have to persevere with, okay? That's the only way to improve. And you got to train frequently. So try to train every day, just 10-15 minutes if you can, and you will start to see those results. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see some more content. And I'll see you in the next episode. Tennis is a very Can't speak today. That's what happens when you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking of starting a new series. What are your thoughts?